Joining me today is Chris McCall, who is vying for Peoria County State's Attorney. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
All right, so for you, if you were to be elected into this position, what are the top ways in which you would go about it differently?
Well, one of the things I'm looking to do is have more prevention intervention programs. And so I'm looking to partner with schools in the county and go talk to the students and talk about different crimes, talk about trauma, talk about triggers. If we are able to do that, that could stop people from getting involved in the cycle of criminality. Additionally, what I'm looking to do is bring forth with the courts more intervention programs. What I mean by intervention programs are programs where people can keep convictions off their record for non-violent offenses. And if that can occur, that can lead to more people having more job opportunities, life opportunities, because when you have certain convictions, that can prohibit you from getting employment opportunities, receiving school loans, and receiving housing benefits. And so if we can give more people more opportunities, that can prevent crime and that can lead people to having better lives. That keeps us all safer, because when people have more job prospects, that prohibits them or makes it less likely they're going to go out and commit crimes, because they won't have the same sense of desperation. Those are the changes I'm looking to bring to Peoria County. I want to use my experience as an attorney over the past 17 years, an attorney that's been up and down the highway. I've practiced in various counties throughout the state, and I've seen the way courthouses are operated in Cook County, in Sangamon County, and throughout the state. And just because we do things a certain way in Peoria County, that doesn't mean they are the most efficient. That doesn't mean that it leads to the most amount of public safety. It's actually the opposite. I think the way we work cases here actually leads us to being less safe, and I believe these stats show that as well.
Now, in what ways would you say that the county currently is not as efficient as it could be?
Well, again, it's the lack of prevention programs. It's the lack of the state's attorney's office being out in the community. I've been in the community since I've been an attorney here. I've partnered with the Center for Prevention of Abuse. I'm a under 40 award winner. I've partnered with schools. I've worked for the Peoria Public Schools as a hearing officer. We need to go out in the schools and get rid of the new normal. What I mean by the new normal is there are too many kids, they see violence and it's normal to them, okay? And if we let people know the ways to maintain a law-abiding lifestyle, what should be normal, then that can help people from getting involved in the system. There are too many situations where kids and adults, they get involved in crime and they come into the system, and the system sees them in trouble 4 or 5 and 6 times, and then the judge says, well, how do we get here? What is it that led us to being here? And more often than not, it's the cycle of crime. And if we can prohibit the cycle of crime, we can give people interventions, we can let people know how to stay out of trouble, how to stay in a law-abiding lifestyle, then that can prohibit that, and that can lead to safety and also save taxpayers money.
You're from Peoria?
I'm born and raised in Peoria. I'm a Richwoods Knight.
All right, a little bit more about your background.
Well, born and raised in Peoria. My wife is a third shift nurse. Her name is Tiffany. I have 2 wonderful kids. I have a 19-year-old, Krista, and I have a 12-year-old who's in the 6th grade, Leah. And so I've been a prosecutor. I prosecuted from 2003 to 2005, and I've opened up McCall law offices in 2005. I've been a community servant, community leader. And so I want to bring my experience of traveling up and down the state and working around different courthouses and bring it back to Peoria. Peoria is not the same place in which I grew up. I remember growing up and playing baseball at Proctor, attending Richwoods, playing football there, running gassers, and eating Zips hamburgers and things like that there. And I want to bring some of the experience I've seen working elsewhere and bring it to Peoria County and make us all safer.
All right, being in the position of state's attorney, you obviously also have to work with local authorities and being able to work with the police department, working with the sheriff's department within the area. How would you say your ability would be to span across and to be able to work with the various departments within the community?
Well, unlike my opponent, I have worked in different courthouses. I've worked in different counties. And so I believe I'm uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between the community and local law enforcement. It's not about connections, it's about the people, okay? And the community has to have trust in law enforcement, and law enforcement has to have trust in the community. More often than not, criminals are becoming more and more sophisticated. We can't continue to prosecute crimes and do investigations the same way we've done for decades. And so we need citizens to have confidence in us, in the state's attorney's office, because more often than not, they are the victims. They are the people who have witnessed the crime. And so we have to build that gap. We have to build that trust, being that I'm from here, being that I have experience on both sides of the aisle. I think that is unique.
And if I am correct, for a large portion of your career, you were a defense attorney.
That's
you were on
correct.
the defending side. How does that translate into now becoming the state's attorney, which you would more be prosecuting?
Well, I think it is actually a seamless transition, because two of the more recent state's attorneys, Kevin Lyons and of course Jerry Brady, the late Jerry Brady, they were defense attorneys. And I've spoken with parents. I've had individuals who were accused of crime who've come into my office, and I've seen situations where they had trouble reading, where their parents, because of a lack of ability to communicate, they told me what their child was accused of. And I've seen some of the triggers, some of the traumas they've been through, and I know the weaknesses and I know the strengths of the system. And so I can bring that to the state's attorney's office to make us all safer. Of course, yes, I've been a defense attorney, but I've also as well been someone who's been an advocate in the courts for a more efficient and fair courtroom. I've helped pick judges. I've helped even retain a public defender in the federal system. And so I have a great depth of knowledge and experience here.
What about leadership? Obviously, you're going to be leading a department if you were to be elected as
Sure.
the state's attorney. What would you qualify as your leadership styles, and what way would you make changes from your perception now, being outside of the office, but looking in to the way that the office is ran?
Well, I've had a lot of experience being a leader in community. As I said, I've been 40 under 40. I've worked with Peoria Police Athletic League. I started and founded my own law firm in 2005 without being a public defender, and I allowed that to grow, where we have hired and retained citizens who have worked in Peoria County, lived in Peoria County. In terms of my leadership skills, I'm a very calm person, of course, and I'm willing to listen to all sides, and I'm willing to analyze issues before I make a decision. And I believe that it's best to make decisions when you hear different backgrounds, different experiences, and then you make the best decision along with those people. In terms of my leadership, one of the things I'm always interested in is the person who's the quietest in the room. The person who's the quietest in the room, I'm really intrigued about what they have to say and what they think. And then once you have all the information, you make the best decision that is safest and best decision for everyone involved.
You mentioned information. I know for Peoria County State's Attorney, you're going to be privy to a lot of information within that office. You also have the calls from the public on being transparent. How do you balance that? How would you plan to balance between having confidential information and then making information available to the public?
Well, we are going to make information available to the public in a manner which leads to public safety. Of course, if there is an ongoing investigation and it is not a sense of timing, it's not a good sense of timing to release that information, we're not going to release it until it is proper to do so. Of course, you have to follow the rules of open meetings. You have to follow the rules in terms of disclosing information to the citizens, and we're going to do that as soon as we can.
All right. Any last things that you would like to say for people as to why you believe they should vote for you for Peoria County State's Attorney?
I'm asking people to vote for me for change. We've continued the same route we've done for decades, and we have not had much of a change other than our county has continued to become more and more violent. And so I believe it is very important that we have change. I'm looking to bring more intervention programs. I'm looking to work with schools. I'm looking to have more prevention. We can't continue to do the same things and expect different results. Additionally, I'm born and raised in Peoria County. My opponent flew here. I grew here. I want to bring my experience here so we can all become safer, stronger together.
All right. Chris McCall, running for Peoria County State's Attorney.